Hey everyone, today we're going to be going over how to make a car in Dreams. So this is the finished product. It's a little bit loud, I think, maybe, I'm not sure. Let me just turn that down a little bit, yeah. We got this car right here. Drives pretty well, handles well. Oh no. You're stuck, kind of, I guess. We're also going to be doing, like, logic to make it flip over. So, we do this, I believe, maybe. Like that, you'll be able to flip it over, back onto the right side, GTA style. Got some, brake. Little drift mechanic, I don't know really what to call it, but yeah, pretty nice vehicle here. As you can see, the tires spin. Why don't we take a look at it before we head over into the tutorial section of this video. So this is actually the sound, and this is actually just a regular default chip that they give you in the sounds section. They give you quite a bit of sounds just to have it out there. This one right here. It's pretty nice. And so we got our flipping logic right here, and we got our movement logic right here. It's a bit of a mess. I tried my best to clean it up. Hopefully, when I remake this for the tutorial section of this video, it will be a bit cleaner than that. So, why don't we get started? Hello everyone. Welcome back. We are just going to be updating our car here. In the last episode of this series, we made a very basic car. It drives, it turns, it does the stuff. Well, in this video, I want to go over improving the handling, first of all, and secondly, I want to go over really quickly a bug that I found near the end of the last episode, or the last tutorial, I guess. And I explained it at the very end, so there may be some of you that are watching this video that didn't watch the other video all the way through. So basically what you need to do is you need to go ahead and scope into your wheels, not into the sculpting, but scope in. The actual wheel part needs to be set to movable, and the axle part needs to be set to not movable. Otherwise, your wheels are just going to be decoration, they're not going to spin. Like, they actually provide some kind of use. So if we go ahead and drift on over and drive over our platform here, you can see we kind of jump over it like perfectly fine. If I go in and go ahead and set these to not movable like I had previously, you're gonna see a much drastic difference in our handling and physics, I believe. So let's go ahead and try that. We kind of drag along the ground a bit more. And if we hit our platform here, we're going to bounce over the place. See? That's because we hit it directly on. We didn't have any actual wheels, so I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Alright. So go ahead and open up your car's microchip. If you haven't already, you're going to have to get under the car to get into it if you don't have X-ray on. And first thing I want to do is I want to improve the handling. I want to improve it quite a bit. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to increase the speed for our forwards rotator, and that is our top one in our rotation microchip. And I'm just going to increase the speed to about 150 or negative 150 degrees a second. And we have it negative because the output from our left stick is reversed. I believe either that or I think the rotator is reversed. So now we have a little bit better handling. Of course, it can always be even better than that, which is what our third rotator is for. But first, I want to go and open the properties of the controller sensor with L1 and square. Go to the fourth tab, and I'm going to increase the camera distance to about 3.2. I think the camera is way too close for now. Alright, I'm going to extend our rotation microchip out to give us a little bit more room here. And what we're going to do first is we want to apply the extra rotation when we are braking and we are accelerating. So that would be L2 and R2 at the same time. Let's see what our thing is set up at right now. 40% strength. We have that at 80 for our main forward, so let's go ahead and change that. 100 y-axis speed, let's change that to about 200, or negative 200 I should say. And this should give us a little bit more oomph when we're driving. And we want, for this AND gate, to have 3 ports on it. And I'm going to move the grounded port to the very bottom. And then we're going to get L2 and R2. So now we're going to have an extra rotation when we are accelerating and decelerating, kind of like a drift. And we also want to take priority over our backwards turning. We don't want to be using our backwards turning when we are braking and accelerating. So I'm going to get a NOT gate out, and I'm going to place it right here. I'm going to plug in R2 into this, and then we're going to plug in the NOT gate into our backwards AND gate. So now we won't be trying to turn backwards and forwards at the same time. So let's go ahead and see how that looks. Camera's much better. Get a wider turn now. I think we're slowing down way too much. So I'm also going to increase or decrease the damp in our backwards mover, which is in our movement microchip. I'm going to do about 30%. Let's try that. I think that's okay. If you want to improve it from there, if you want to change it from there, that's fine. And one thing you may notice is if we're moving and we let go of our acceleration, we can't steer anymore. So that's one thing that we're going to want to deal with. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to, let's see here, left, right, extra forward. We're actually going to plug in our AND gates into the strength of our rotators instead of the power port. But we also have another issue here, that is we don't want the dampening to overlap for each of them, or else we're going to get a really strong damp. So we're probably going to keep these AND gates, and we are going to make it so when we are, let's see here, well, we can actually multiply our damp as well. So I think that's a fair assumption that we can make. So let's go ahead and delete the wires that we have right now for our AND gates. And we're going to go ahead and open up our forwards mover, or not mover, but rotator. And we're going to hook up our AND gate into the rotation strength and the dampen Y. And we are also going to, let's see here, we're going to replace the, we're going to add a movement sensor, which is in our sensors and input section. And we're going to get the movement sensor, which looks like a ball being thrown. And I'm going to get a splitter. And we're going to go ahead and open up the properties of our movement sensor. And we're going to get the Z-axis, because that's forwards. And we're going to want to do local space. And of course, we need to do the sense movement of our group. So in the properties panel, the top dealio, and I want to plug that into our car. And Z is indeed our forward, so that's good. And we're going to go ahead and plug in, we're going to get a calculator first actually, because we want to be able to adjust the sensitivity that we're going to get from this. Because we're obviously going to be driving at fast speeds, and we don't want to increase. Actually, I don't think we want to get a calculator. We're going to want to get a signal manipulator, and we're going to go open up properties of that. And the signal manipulator is in your logic and processing section. We're going to open up the properties of this, and we're going to go ahead and go to the custom remapper section. And we are going to do clamp values for our remap curve, which is the under our big thingy here. And that's just going to clamp the value or input into what we decide, which is up here. And on both sides, there's two sides here. There's left and right. And the left is our input and the right is our output. And these represent the values that are going to be coming in. So we know that we're going to have a negative value and a positive value coming from the velocity z-axis. So we're going to go ahead and change it from 1, 0 to 1, negative 1. And you can go ahead and grab the little line here with X, or you could move it with the up and down on your D-pad, which is going to make it a little bit easier to adjust it if you can't get that negative 1 perfect. And we also know that we want to clamp the value to 1 and negative 1, so go ahead and drag the other bottom line down on the right. So now we're basically forcing the incoming value to go from, we're gonna basically clip it so it becomes, it basically is it's basically moreover gonna stay in that range that we did, and we're probably gonna want to we're probably gonna want to learn our input actually. So if you play time, and we're gonna go ahead and go into the modes menu, and we're gonna go ahead and test mode, and I'm gonna go ahead and drive, and this is gonna get our maximum forward speed. I'm gonna stop, and then we go backwards, and this is gonna get our maximum backwards speed. Then I'm going to go ahead and do L1 and circle to exit our car, and then learn input range, and that should learn our input range. Oh wait, no. Yeah, you got to do it really fast for some reason. There we go. Yeah, you got to get it so it's on the screen in here very quickly. So we get 9.33 and negative 5.55. Okay, that's good. And we're gonna clamp these values from 0 to 1, basically. I think... I don't know. Oh, shoot. I feel like that is a little bit too advanced. So you're going to want to keep the 1 and -1 on both sides. And this is just going to ensure that we, even if we're moving slowly, we're going to have full like power to our rotation. Because if you're going really slow, you're still going to be able to turn fairly decently, and better than if you're going quickly, technically, I guess. Again, these are arcade controls. I think I might do a separate tutorial later on how to do realistic car movement. I'm thinking ahead with that. You'd have to do a lot of animation work, and you have to like focus on like tires and stuff like that. So this is a lot simpler than that, which is why I'm doing it this way for now. So positive is going forward, so we're going to go ahead and plug that into the R2 port of our AND gate. And so this is basically saying if we are accelerating or if we are already going fast, we're going to be able to turn. And we're going to go ahead and make sure we do have it set up into our mover properly, and then we're going to have the negative output of our splitter, and that's going to go into the L2 port of our backwards AND gate. And then we're going to go ahead and open up our backwards rotator, and then we're going to go ahead and plug in the result of our AND gate into our speed and our strength and dampening. Wait, hold on. No, yeah. Not our speed, but our strength and dampening, yeah. There we go. And then one last thing. Let's see. Y-axis speed. One last thing is our extra forward. Let's go ahead and do the same process here. And just to be clear, the signal manipulator that we're working on, we're going to go ahead and plug that into our splitter. If you don't have one, it's in the logic and processing section of your gadgets menu. Now that we have this, we should get a little bit even more realistic controls. So we're go ahead and we're accelerating, and I'm still able to turn when I'm moving, still able to turn, and then not able to turn. So we're even able to turn when we are not accelerating or not going backwards, which is great. And let's see here. We're probably going to want to plug in our plus sign here, or positive, into the NOT gate for our backwards, because we don't want to be like blasting away forwards and then try to like turn backwardsly. That wouldn't end up well. Alright, so now that we have some better controls down, let's see if we can get some, not air control, but flipping, like in GTA style. So I'm going to go ahead and make a ramp for us here. And I'm going to go ahead and make that ramp decently high. And let's see if we can flip over from this. Yes, okay. So we are able to flip over from that. Not really keen on if we're going to be doing air control in this tutorial, but that's something you want to see. Go ahead and leave that in the comments. But I know flipping is a common thing that you're probably going to want in your car game. Air control, maybe, maybe not. So, but flipping is a definite feature that you want, unless you want something more realistic. So let's go ahead and make a new microchip, which is in your logic and processing section of your gadget tools menu. Microchip, go ahead and place that down on your car logic, and we want to make a trigger zone, And this trigger zone is going to detect if we are on our backside or if we're on our side. So go ahead and open this up. And we're going to do label. Not label. Wait. Label, yes. So if you don't label things, like if you don't name your sculpts, this is fine. Otherwise, you might want to make like a ground sculpt and not name it anything, just to be your floor. Because I think if we, for example, name our floor here something other than just sculpture. Oh, no? Does that work? I'm not 100%. Yeah, maybe. Yes, that still works. Okay, never mind. Apparently names don't matter unless you put one in here. So we're gonna go ahead and say we want everything except for friends. And we're gonna go ahead and label the car as friend. So shouldn't be able to detect the car now. Yes, good. Just double checking. Okay. There we go. Yep. Can't detect the car. That's good. And we don't want to detect the car because we don't want to be constantly flipping over now, do we? We're going to go ahead and set the shape of our trigger zone to be a cube. And we're going to go ahead and size it down so we only detect a little bit off the top and a little bit off the sides. And then we want to make it so we're only detecting the top portion of our vehicle. Because if you're on your side, you're on your side. But we don't want to detect anything below here. So we're going to go ahead and close this trigger zone now. This should be all set up now. And this is going to go into a counter. So go ahead and get a counter from your logic and processing section of your microchip. Not microchip, but gadgets menu. And we're going to go ahead and hook up the detected output of our trigger zone into the increase count of our counter. And that is going to turn on a rotator, just a basic one from our movers and output section of our gadgets menu. And we're going to go ahead and open up the properties of that. And on the last page, the affected objects, we've got to plug that into our car group, the group specifically. And then we're going to go ahead and turn on the guides grid snap. I'm going to take this little gizmo here and snap it up so we are rotating on our y-axis. Wait, no. We don't want to rotate on our y-axis. What am I saying? We want to rotate on our z-axis. And we want to make sure we are in local space. So we want to rotate on our z-axis in local space. When you tick local space, it's always going to be X, but the Z is forward. As you could see when it wasn't in local space. And the little... the other part of the gizmo, I don't think it really matters. So as long as it looks like this, we should be good. And we're going to do 100% strength and 100% dampening. And we're going to go ahead and make it about, let's do negative 5 meters a second, or 5 degrees a second. And we have it really slow because it's really powerful. It's at 100%. And we're going to go ahead and turn on our rotator with our counter here. And then we want the left and right of our left stick. And that's going to go ahead and go into the rotation speed. Input of our rotator. And we are also going to want to reset it somehow. So we're probably going to reset when we are on the ground, because we know if we're on the ground we're able to drive, so we don't want to be able to flip over onto our back. So let's see if this works. Oh well, I didn't even get to test it because I didn't flip over. Man, how did it work the first time? I know I fell. Come on. Oh, come on. Really? Let's see here. Let's try just going on our left side. Okay, well now we're on a side, so we should be able to flip over, but we're not able to. So let's see what's happening here. Well, we are turned on. Dampening is 100%. Okay. Well, let's go into test mode. And I'm going to unlock the camera. Play time and then enter. Looks like, why aren't we able to flip? Let's try really high speed instead. Yeah, 87 degrees a second. Yep, that works a lot better. There it is. Would you look at that? Alright. So now we have a flipping mechanic. Let's go ahead and try it out one more time. There we go. And we actually do have negative direction here. So we're going to do positive 80 degrees instead of negative. There we go. Some kind of positive number. Either way works. There we go. Nice. It's only been about 25 minutes. I think we can fit in some air control. Why not? If you think this is good enough, though... Well, actually, I want to go over sounds first, because everyone's going to have sounds in their game. So, sounds is actually really simple, because Media Molecule actually did it for us. I know most of you probably don't really care if you use Media Molecule objects or not, but if you do, I will run over everything that's in this microchip. In fact, they even give an explanation of what's in it. So we're going to go ahead and go into the modes menu. I'm going to go to sound mode. Let's search. And then we're going to search for sound effects. Media Molecule sound effects. Vehicles. And we're going to go ahead and go into the layered vehicles loops. Example engine logic. This is what we want. So this basically provides us with sounds for going at any speed, basically. So in here, we plugged in R2 to power the engine. You can go ahead and delete this controller sensor in here. And let's see. Change the acceleration signal manipulator smoothing times to adjust how fast the engine can accelerate. This is going to add some jitter. The timeline playhead is powered by the acceleration value, and the engine sounds are laid out with fades to achieve a smooth transition between the loops. The pitch of all the loops is increased with an effect field that fades in as the engine accelerates. An offload effect is achieved by powering an effect field which filters all the loops when the engine becomes unpowered. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these text gadgets. So this is acceleration. So if you want to change how fast and how slow the engine accelerates and decelerates, we can go ahead and do it here. Let's try to modify it just to get a little bit different sounds. And then this is the timeline here. And in this timeline, by default, they're using a diesel engine loop. And you can actually replace these sounds fairly easily. As you can see, they have different engines in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the buggy engine. So all you have to do is hover over the previous sound. It's going to change the size of it. That's pretty much the only thing that you have to deal with. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off grid snap. And you basically want to resize it to about the same size that it was previously. And of course you can use the undo and redo feature in order to get something much better than what you had previously. So let's see here. Search sound effects. Low loop, that's what we want. Goes to the end of this line. And that's a bit too much, I think. No, that's fine. And we are going to go ahead and get middle loop. And then we want the high loop. This one, I'm going to go ahead and move the fader out because we have like an off screen sound there. So this looks fairly good to me. Alright, so we're able to change the engine sounds in here. And I'm going to do something else as well. I want to have this rev up when we're going backwards, at least a little bit. So I'm going to go signal manipulator. And I'm going to go ahead and do custom remapper. And we're going to go ahead and change the output to this to be 0.3. And we're going to clamp the values for our remap curve. And we're going to go ahead and get L2. And we're going to plug that into our signal manipulator. And that's going to go into our input for the example engine logic. For the sounds, now that you can hear that's obviously ticking up way too fast. So in our acceleration here, I'm going to change the smooth rise, and I'm going to change this to about 7.5 seconds. Smooth fall, maybe 5 seconds. Alright, that sounds a lot better, or it seems to be better. So let's go ahead and, now that we have those sounds added in, I'm going to add another microchip here, because we're going to want to add some braking sounds, and we want to add sounds for drift. So let's see here. You just make a new microchip. I'm going to select the signal manipulator in our example engine logic and drag it in here. Then I'm going to copy the R2 and L2 nodes from another microchip that we have. Can be any of them, really. Then I'm going to go ahead and rewire our inputs so the L2 is done properly and the R2 is done properly. Then I want to make it so if our speed is above 0, I want to make a braking noise when we do L2. And if our speed is above 0 and we're doing L2 and R2, I want to make a kind of minor screeching tire noise for the brake effect. Or the drift effect. So let's go ahead and find some sounds for that first. Modes menu, sound mode, search, sound effects. I'm going to go ahead and do roads and tracks. So tires skidding on road is a good braking, and then let's see here. Tires cornering on road is a good drift noise. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on our microchip here. And I'm going to go ahead and exit sound mode with L1 and circle. Open our rotator chip. I'm going to go ahead and steal our movement sensor that we have here with the splitter and the signal manipulator. I'm going to copy it over. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure the movement sensor is hooked up to our vehicle group. Alright, so this is going to get our movement speed. So we have the positive output. So let's do, if we are, we're going to get an AND gate from our logic processing section. If we have L2, and if we are going forward, and we're not accelerating, we get a NOT gate, and plug that into the AND gate, and then R2 goes into the NOT gate. So if we are not accelerating and we are decelerating with L2, and our speed is greater than 0, then we are going to go ahead and make the tire screeching noise for, of course, braking. And then we have the tires cornering, and we're going to go ahead and make it so if we are accelerating and decelerating at the same time, and our speed is greater than 0, we are going to go ahead and make that noise. And of course I made a new NOT gate from the logic and processing section of the gadget menu. So let's see how this sounds now. I personally think the engine noise is a bit too loud, but you could hear the tire screeching. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the engine speed down. Or not speed, but just volume. You can do that by going into the logic of the example engine logic circuit board and then the timeline. You can open the properties of that. The last page is the volume. I'm going to change it to gameplay A channel. Alright. That sounds good to me. Again, you can keep tweaking this if you want it to sound any more different than that. I'll go ahead and name our flip logic. Last thing I could teach you for this for now is air control. It's very similar to the flip, where we are going to get an advanced rotator, and we're going to rotate the X and the Z our vehicle when we are in the air. So let's go ahead, make a new microchip, and let's go ahead and first of all, to add some weight to our vehicle, we're going to add a gyroscope. And we're not going to add any strength into this, so we're going to have 0 strength. And we're going to have, I don't know, 200 speed maybe. I'm going to have a lot of dampening, 80% dampening. So this is going to keep our vehicle upright without actually applying any force. And of course, we're going to go over to the second tab to get the affected objects, and I'm going to go ahead and plug that into our vehicle. So now, hopefully, yeah, it takes much more effort to actually make our car not to be upright. So I'm gonna make a counter in here from our gadgets menu in the logic and processing. I'm gonna plug in the counterful output into our gyroscope. And one thing I was noticing is I think I'm not sure if that's weird. It's kind of still taking effect even though it's turned off. Okay, no, I must be imagining things. Alright, now that we have this output, we want to go ahead and make a timer in here, because we don't want to give them air control immediately. And we're going to go ahead and do speed for the timer type in the properties panel. I'm going to set the target time to be about 1.5 seconds of air time in order to actually get air control. And we're going to get the timer finish signal from the properties panel, the last one, and that's going to go ahead and increase count of our counter. And then we're going to get the grounded output, and we're going to make a node for it first. And the grounded output is going to go into our node, and then the node is going to go ahead and go into our reset count of our counter. And then we're going to get a NOT gate, and the node is going to plug into our NOT gate, which is going to plug into our timer, start timer output. And we're probably going to want to reset it as well, so we're going to reset the timer with the node input as well, or the node output technically. Alright, and now we want the rotator, of course. So we're going to go ahead and get the advanced rotator from our movers and output section. And we're going to go ahead and make the rotation strength to be 100 and the damp and everything to be 100%. We're going to make it local space. And on the second page, we need to get the affected objects and plug that into our car. And we're going to be rotating on the Z and X axis. So on the first page, we're going to turn down the Y speed all the way. And let's see, I think 180. Let's see if we can get away with that. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the sticks input from, or the sticks node, left and right, and then we're going to make a up and down node. So I'm copying the left and right node, and then I'm going to rename one of them to be up down. And then we're going to plug in the X from our splitter into our left and right, and then the Y into our up and down. And up and down is going to control our X speed on our rotator, and then left and right is going to control our Z. And of course we want to turn it on with the counter output counter full. Let's get us more airtime. So why don't we actually just drag the car really high up. Okay. Well, it seems to be a bit too strong, so I'm going to go ahead and lower this down to about 80 degrees a second, maybe? Let's try that. And the camera does not want to keep up with our vehicle when we're falling. I'm not sure what to do about that. The controller sensor camera does not have a lot of properties to it, but it is a really good camera if you don't have it falling downwards. So let's try making a platform up here that we can drive off of. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring a car up here. Let's try this. Let's try to see if we can lower gravity on our vehicle here. I don't want to lower the weight. I'm not even sure if you can change gravity on specific objects. That's a bit of a bummer. There's global settings. Wow. Okay. I guess we can take out a mover. And I'm gonna put that on our microchip. I'm gonna turn off the grid. Let's change forward speed to 0, and we're gonna change dampening to about 10%, and we only want it in the Y. And we're gonna turn off everything else, and we're gonna make sure this is on that. And it doesn't really matter. It's really hard to tell. If that's actually doing anything. Let's try 20%, and then I want to lower this timer to be about half a second. Well, it's definitely possible. If we put down a camera here, and I'm gonna lower this timer to be even lower, just like 0.1 seconds, just because I don't want to delete it. And then I put down this camera from behind the car like this. Let's see. Let's actually just delete this power and see if we can get... Okay, so it is reversed. Or I think it's reversed? It depends on... Okay, I think this depends on preference. Because pushing down makes you look down, and pushing up makes you look up. So this is preference. If you don't like that, I don't. You can reverse the speed. In this case, it's Z. No, X, I think. Yeah, X. So I'm gonna go to -80. Voice crack. Wow. Okay. I think I've been talking a lot today. Yeah. There we go. That looks to be appropriate. Okay, let's see if our left and right is doing alright. Yep, that looks good. Okay. Cool. So we got some air control now. Alright. I think that's about it. We don't really have time for anything else anyway. So got a nice little arcadey controlling car. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, everyone. And I want to thank, again, everybody who watches these tutorials all the way through. So yeah, thank you. Bye. Have a nice day. Bye.